You can even connect the PHC to a hyperscaler like Azure by using the IPsec VPN capabilities that are built in. In this way, you can create a stretched network or a connection between your local PHC network and your Azure network in order to be able to utilize resources directly from Azure as well as in the PHC. So it's just a simple walkthrough how I've set up the IPsec connection and how we then can utilize that to connect to resources in Azure. So first off, we need to create the VPN tunnel, which is naturally done through networking and then through the Edge gateway. So going into services for the Edge gateway in PHC, I can then find my VPN tab and then have a look at my predefined IPsec connection to Azure. A couple of things to note here. The local endpoint is the public IP I've assigned to that VPN connection from the PHC side of things. So that's a PHC-owned IP. The peer endpoint is the public IP assigned to the networking gateway and the Azure side of things. And the peer subnet is pretty much just a configuration of which network the VPN tunnel should expect to find on the other end of the line. So basically, that's a local IP network used in Azure in this case. Then going over into Azure, there is an equivalent configuration here for my virtual network gateway. So just jumping into that and then having a look at connections, we'll find the equivalent configuration on the Azure side of things for a site-to-site IPsec tunnel. And if I jump into that, I can find the public IP that has been used on the Azure side of things, which is basically the peer IP we saw in the PHC configuration part of the tunnel. So once that is in place and the connection is live, which is the case here, so you can see the status is connected there. We can then have a quick look at a Windows VM that I have created on the Azure side of things, which only has a private IP address assigned to it. The 172.16.0.4 is a non-routable address that is only available inside of Azure. So I won't be able to connect to this VM through any other means, basically. There is no public IP assigned to it, so I can't connect to it directly. Jumping back into the PHC, we can then fire up a VM there that I have running, launch the web console for that one, and just to make things clear and make sure that everything is working as intended, I'll pop up a web browser just showing what my public IP for the demo VM is. And as you can see here, it's an IP that's located in the Netherlands. So the 185.143 address there is local to the PHC tenant in the Netherlands. So I can then try to connect to my VM in Azure, which is running the 172.16.0.4 IP address, which seems to be working just fine. Pop up my credentials there and see if we can actually log on to the VM, which we can. So there it is, a remote desktop connection to a VM running in Azure that doesn't have a public IP, but is available directly from a VM running in the PHC. So just to make sure that the breakout to the internet is not the same and it's not routing the traffic back through the PHC, we can then see that the public IP that this VM accesses the internet from is located in Oslo, Norway, which makes a lot of sense because the Azure region I'm using is Norway East, pretty much. So by connecting the PHC to Azure through a VPN, we can then access resources from PHC in Azure without publicly exposing those resources anywhere else. And we can also then use services in Azure should we want to do that. So it makes it, you can connect your PHC to Azure, to AWS, to your local on-prem network, or whatever, and then route traffic between them as you see fit. So PHC works as a connection method as well for a true multi-cloud environment.